Hey everyone, welcome back to the Tune Project. Today I'll be walking you through 4 different types of bow strokes and how to play them on the violin. These bow strokes that I'll be talking about are geared more toward beginning violinists, so if that's you, then just keep on watching. If you find this video to be helpful, please give it a thumbs up, and if you're not already subscribed to the Tune Project, be sure and hit that red subscribe button below for more videos just like this one. And I just want to give a quick shout out to Sarah G. She requested this video and I was super excited to make it, so thank you, Sarah, for your request. So there are many different types of etudes for the violin, and one of the more popular ones that I have with me today is Kreutzer. And what an etude is, if you're unsure, is basically a study of a particular technique, sometimes having to do with the bow, but sometimes having to do with the left hand. And today we'll be covering the bow portion of etudes and techniques and things like that, and I'll be covering some of the bow strokes or bow techniques that you might come across in your etude studies. There are several different types of bow strokes and bow articulation that we use when playing the violin, both in classical and other styles of music. But today we'll be covering just 4 bow strokes that everyone should know regardless of the level that you're at. So if you're a beginner, you can start to incorporate these right away. And if you've been playing for a little longer, then maybe you're already using these bow strokes without even knowing it. The first type of bow stroke is legato. And legato is just simply a smooth bow stroke in which we connect our down bows to our up bows. So I will start by demonstrating on the A string. Legato is a bow stroke that is used in most cases unless you see a different type of articulation or instruction for the bow written in your music. But if there's nothing there and there's no indication for what the bow is to do, then you can assume that you'll be playing legato. The second bow stroke is staccato, and this one is essentially just separation between each note. So when we use staccato, we want to be sure to keep our bow on the string. So the bow is always in contact with the string with this one, and we just add a little bit of separation in between each note, so we get kind of a very short separated sound. So each note is very concise, and it doesn't necessarily mean that we have to use a very short amount of bow. You can still use a lot of bow and play staccato, but again, it just has to do with adding separation in between each note. And I, again, will demonstrate on the A string. So notice the comparison between legato and staccato. Legato being very smooth, where we're connecting each note, and staccato being a little bit more separated. Another way that we can play staccato is in the same bow, which would be considered a slur or a hooked bowing. So with this case, we would start on a down bow, and notice how the notes are still separated, but I'm playing them in the same bow. So that's just an example of a couple of different ways that you can use staccato. The third bow stroke is called Larae, or sometimes known as portato, and this one is essentially just gently pulsed notes in the same bow. So similar to what I did in the staccato example, where I played several notes, I played 2 notes in the same bow, but they were separated. In this case, we would do that same thing, except kind of connect each of those notes without fully just blending them all together. We're still pulsing each of the notes, but you can tell distinctly that each of the notes is individual and they're not all just combined into one bow. So I'll give an example of this. So even though I was playing multiple of the same note in one bow, the pulses that we add to create this Larae bow stroke kind of distinguish each note from each other. So instead of sounding like just one solid A, it sounded like multiple. And the final bow stroke we'll be talking about today is Martella, which literally translates to hammered. So what this means is we basically play each note with a little bit of a bite to it. So we're kind of just pinching with the bow the beginning of the note. So similarly to staccato, Martella has a separation in between each notes if we're playing multiple, but the difference is it's a slightly different technique and execution with how we get that separation. So with Martella, we really take advantage of the index finger, okay? So we're going to be using the index finger to just lean into the string to give it that initial little bite to the note, and then we quickly release, okay? So again, we're still keeping the bow on the string as we did for staccato. We're still maintaining contact with the string the entire time. However, we're just releasing the pressure of the index finger. Okay? And if you look at your bow as you're doing this, you'll notice that the stick of the bow comes in contact with the hair very briefly because we're adding that added pressure of the index finger into the stick, so it's going to lean into the string a bit more, and then when you release it after playing the note, then it quickly comes back to its original position. So try just starting the stroke by not making any sound. See if you can just kind of add that pressure of the index finger into the bow and just silently grab the string, okay? So we're just kind of pressing into the stick, and we're just allowing the stick of the bow to make contact with the bow hair. And then when you're ready and you feel like you have a good handle on this, then you can begin playing the actual Martella stroke. And that's it for our 4 bow strokes for today. Let me know in the comments below if you use any of these bow strokes and if you have a favorite. Share it with everybody. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in my next video. Happy practicing!